The following is a presentation of iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations on LSRTV, the voice of sim racing.
Welcome tonight to the Stafford Motor Speedway for the Upstate Racing League White Knuckle Clothing Incorporated Pro Late Model Series for tonight's Art Barbershop 125 here at the very low banked speedway of Stafford Motor Speedway. From all of us here at LSRTV, we welcome you to tonight's broadcast, and alongside me is Chris Murdoch and Cisco Scaramuza. I'm Austin Coop, and here round number 2 for this Upstate Racing League, and we have already a picture unfolding in front of us of what this championship's going to look like, and we've got round 1 in the books, and now we're finally going to get to these really low banked short tracks that this series is really known for. Chris, I'm pretty excited to see what these guys have in store for us. A lot of fast drivers out throughout the week. Sean Cool, Rex Hoyle, Stefan Marinak, Jake Watson, and AJ Hamill. Some really fast drivers this week, and currently at the top of the standings for qualifying is Nicholas Rasmussen, last year's champion. So really looking pretty interesting, and qualifying really close times though, as qualifying is already underway and we're seeing these guys out.
We are Cooping. One driver that you kind of danced around there, sitting around in the top 5, speaking of champions, is that number 69 car of Matt Cucker, who came off winning the championship last night in the Cars Esports Tour. Gonna be on a huge storm of momentum here. That could be look to that 69, and like you mentioned, Nicholas Rasmussen, last season's champion. Last season was such a great ending to the season, but I am so excited for round number 2 and on from here on out in Upstate.
Yeah, we'll take a look at your point standings right here. Of course, Stefan Marinak won last week, so he's going to be at the very top of this of the point standings. Then you've got Sean Cool and Kyle Charpentier. Those were your top 3. And of course, looking farther down, you've got Dylan Prosler, Brian Long, Mike Holtzclaw, Wayne McDuff, Rex Hoyle, James McIntyre Jr., and Matt Cucker. And everybody else, Chris, they're not in the chase. Remember, we've got 10 drivers that'll make it. We had 26 drivers last time we were here in this series. Got a lot of drivers that are already out that we would expect to really be up there. You've got Nicholas Rasmussen, who's in the top 5 in the very last lap of the race. He's in 15th place right now. So your defending series champions is already kind of in a sort of a slump, but knowing the way he is and knowing that he's got that pole right now, it looks like he actually has the pole, at least the way it looks like, currently unofficial at the moment. But so he's looking to have a big rebound. You've got other big names around there like AJ Hamill as well, that are really in consideration. There's only one race in the books, but they're pretty far back there. They've got a small hole to dig themselves out of, and really right now, this list of drivers is probably going to change dramatically throughout tonight, tomorrow, and before next week.
Yeah, a lot of stuff to change, plus a lot more racing to go on here, Coop. One thing I do want to point out is the amount of rookies actually inside the top 10 for this season in Upstate Racing. You got Matt Cucker, you got Wayne McDuff III, Brian Long, Kyle Carpenter, just to name a few of them. They're all up there making a good name for themselves. This is only round number 2, so things will be able to shake up a lot from here on out, Coop. But as you mentioned, yeah, a lot of drivers out of the top 10 that you would expect to have a good race last week, but we'll have to see how they rebound and bounce back here at Stafford Motor Speedway.
And going through what looks like to be the qualifying order right now, it actually looks like they have completed qualifying. So racing's actually going to be coming a little bit quicker than I was expecting. But these guys are ready to go, and they're ready to get the action rolling here at the Stafford Motor Speedway. So while these guys start to rack the grid up, we're going to go to the starting grid. Nicholas Rasmussen, he does get that pole right there. So championship winner from last season, looking to have a good rebound after having kind of a heartbreak last week. And then Jake Watson, he'll be right next to him, only 4/1000ths of a second off on that time. And then Stefan Marinak, only 3/1000ths off of his time. And then you've got Matt Cucker and Game Fortin. That is your top 5.
Ryan Rogers Jr. going to be sitting in that 6th position. Rex Hoyle going to be 7th. Sean Cool going to be 8th. Naslin in that 33 machine, he's going to start 9th, and AJ Hamill in the 18 is going to be 10th.
Starting 11th is going to be Mike Holtzclaw, then Eric Hagg will start 12th. He had a lot of laps last week. Alex Oriens is going to look to rebound, and he's going to start in 13th. James McIntyre Jr. is going to start 14th, and Al Smith Jr. will start 15th.
16th goes to the 61 of Dan Dubuque. Justin McDuff 17th. 18th Brad Carpenter. Brian Long going to be 19th. Curtis Martin rounding out your top 20. Going through the rest of the field, that's Jay Dubuque in 21st. 22nd goes to Wayne McDuff the 3rd, and rounding out your field, the 02 of Trevin Valderrama in 23rd.
And right now we'll take a look at what we're dealing with tonight. Obviously the Stafford Motor Speedway is half a mile long with some very, very small banks here on pavement here. And while these guys are pacing around a couple times before this race starts, we do want to give a big shout out to tonight's race sponsor, which is Arts Barber Shop. Arts Barber Shop is a proud supporter of the United Sim Racing League and Empire Sim Racing, as well as serving as the primary sponsor of the 18 of AJ Hamill and 20 of Justin McDuff. Located in Morrisville, Vermont, Art has been lowering ears and sharing his love of stock car racing with customers for over 40 years. So as these guys go around the track, we do want to thank them for helping out and giving us a good show for tonight. And I think we're going to get one of those really fun Stafford races. They can just drive wherever they want to at this race. So Chris, as these guys get along the racetrack, 71 and the 88, they're going to start this race here on the front row. And as the green flag waves, Nicholas Rasmussen, he will get these guys rolling into turn number 1.
Going down into turn 1, not a very long front straightaway, as they're still side by side for the lead. Jake Watson trying to stay up there on the high side. Meanwhile, back behind them, Matt Cucker and Stefan Marinak doing battle for the 3rd place position. Too wide throughout the rest of the field. You see Stefan Marinak get really close to that door of Matt Cucker. Just in front of them, Nicholas Rasmussen trying to clear, washes up into the 88 of Jake Watson, comes back down, clears the 88. Now Stefan Marinak going to be on the work for that 88 machine.
It looks like we have a spinner in turn number 1, but this does not trigger a caution. So right now, Nicholas Rasmussen will stay in the lead. At least this will actually be his first lap led, but Jake Watson led the very first lap. So Nicholas Rasmussen, that outside was really good in the restart, but right now it's down and not the spot you want to be in. So bottom preferred, that top line was not too bad at the very beginning of that. Jake Watson really was giving it a lot here. And as the race goes on, I would expect that top line to be pretty fierce. So looks like the 25 of Stefan Marinak still trying the bottom side, but Jake Watson, he's doing some really good work on the top side. I mean, I don't know if he's going to last for a very long time, but that bottom, as well as some extra track space that these guys are going to be able to use, and you'll see them use it a lot. You know, that yellow line is not out of bounds, and neither is that white line on turns 3 and 4, which these guys are going through. So that 25 Gators Chevrolet, he's trying to get by him, but he's not right now. Not enough speed really to get around it, but he's got a very hungry driver behind him, Matt Cucker, who is probably going to press him for a little bit more speed on him.
Yeah, and now you see Jake Watson getting hard on the brakes, kind of letting those drivers by. Nicholas Rasmussen was loving that shot in the mirror there in the coupe, just allowing him to drive away from the 25 of Stefan Marinak and company. Now Jake Watson going to fall right in line behind Matt Cucker. So Stefan Marinak now going to have all of his focus on the 71 machine, trying to get that lead down. 125 laps on the books for tonight, so still a lot of racing left to go, but you do have to take care of those tires here tonight, Coop.
On lap 7 is what Nicholas Rasmussen and everyone behind him are on. It looks like everyone's still on the lead lap, as we did have a slight incident earlier, but that was just involving Trevor Valderrama and Brian Long, it looked like. And Long is 16 seconds behind, so he's only 4 seconds in front of those leaders, so I'm sure he's going to be trying to go as fast as he can to not become a lap down. Really single file throughout the field here. It looks like there's a couple of close battles. Looks like the 29, or the 33 I should say, of Scott Naslin tried to look on the inside of the 50 of Rex Hoyle right there, and he just peaked for a little bit. But this is a hard track to pass on in the early goings. There's not a lot of there's a lot of grip on the track, so it's easy just to stay on the bottom and try and protect your position. So really what these guys are doing right now is kind of waiting for mistakes. It's a little difficult to make those moves right now, but Chris, right now they're like just kind of waiting, biding their time and waiting for a mistake for their competitors, especially for those guys up towards the top 5.
Yeah, especially for the guys up towards the top 5 here, Coop. You got to set them up, because as you mentioned, it is super hard to pass at this track. You see Stefan Marinac using all of the track in turns 3 and 4 to try to get that run on Nicholas Rasmussen. He's closed in the gap considerably, and just behind them, Matt Cucker looking in the balance, and here we go, a battle for the lead, Austin, as they're going through turns 1 and 2. Not going to quite be there. Stefan Marinac has to retreat back in line, but you see he's hungry for that lead.
And he knows he's got to go right now because of the fact that Matt Cucker is pressing him for position 2. It looks like Nicholas Rasmussen is slower than both of them right now, but having track position is really important. And Marinac's trying to get that position without having to try too hard. But right now, Matt Cucker's really pressing him, and you can't forget about Watson there either. He was doing really well on that outside line, so he goes to the inside here off of turn number 4, but it's just not enough power off that corner to do it, and he's got to be careful about trying that too much, because Cucker might be getting in there. You can see that they're trying some different moves. He goes to the inside here again. He's got to be careful not to wash up as well. You see him get loose, and now he's protecting his position. Cucker's got him on the outside right now. We know how good that 69 has been on the outside in the Wednesday night series, and he might just get him right here on the stripe. Yeah, he's going to be able to pass on the outside actually of Stefan Marinac, at least for that lap, but I'm not sure if it's going to stick or not. But right now this fight is helping only Nicholas Rasmussen.
And I really think running below that very small bit of banking there, running on the flat part of the track, is really hurting the 25 of Stefan Marinac here, Coop, because look at Matt Cucker get the run off, and he's actually going to clear the 25 of Stefan Marinac going into turns 1 and 2. Actually not quite. Marinac gonna fight back on the inside. There it is, clear. Now Jake Watson, we saw him retreat the position to Stefan Marinac and Matt Cucker earlier. Now he's trying to get the outside line back going again. This is a 4-car battle. Meanwhile, back in the 5th spot, you got Guillaume Fortin and Rex Hoyle battling for the 5th spot, with a few other drivers trying to catch up to them. So battles all over the place, but right now the focus is on the lead as Matt Cucker is trying to hunt down Nicholas Rasmussen.
Cucker's on fire right now. I saw him do some very long runs, and the way he and Nicholas Rasmussen are running is actually completely different what the two behind them are doing. And I'm watching Marinac go through the corners. I have a good feeling that his tires are not going to last like the two in front of them are, because when he gets into turn 3, and he might do it this time, I just have to see, and he slides those tires right in the middle of the corner, right about here. He slides them up where they're already on the gas ready to go. So I think that's going to be the big difference right here between these first two and these second two right here. Looks like we got maybe a spinner off of turn 4. Looks like it's all good, but look at the front. Back at the front, Matt Cucker's trying the very bottom of the track. They're side by side going for the position right now. It looks like the 69 of Matt Cucker is going to be able to move the 71 out of the way for position and regain or gain the lead for the first time tonight.
Matt Cucker leading his first laps of the night, Cook, and look just behind them at Stefan Marinac, wasting 0 time getting onto the inside of Nicholas Rasmussen. Rasmussen is getting freight train on that top line, because now you'll see the 88 of Jake Watson. So that's how to go from bad to worse for Nicholas Rasmussen. We knew that he didn't have this short run speed, so to speak, and as the runs get longer, Nicholas Rasmussen is one to have a really good long run car. But as you see Jake Watson getting just a little bit impatient with the 71 machine. We're only just on lap 20, getting all over the back bumper of Nicholas Rasmussen, so we'll have to see if he uses the bumper anymore. Meanwhile, Matt Cucker trying to drive away from Stefan Marinac, and he looks to be doing it, getting that humongous run off the corners here, Coop.
Yeah, the 71 of Nicholas Rasmussen made a defensive line. He didn't block. He went low into turn 1, and the 88 was he wanted to make sure he knew he was there. The only thing about that is now they're kind of spacing themselves out, these first 4 cars. It looks like, you know, Kucker's definitely putting on quite a good amount of time between him and Stefan Marinak. Put another half a tenth on that lap, so he's definitely got himself a good car right now. And then those 2 in 3rd and 4th, they're still doing a good battle, but then there's kind of a good gap between the 5th and 6th car, or 5th and 6th place car, and then Sean Cool as well. And Cool's come up from 8th, so he's got 1 spot on the night, so he's sitting fairly good. But there's 2 in front of him, Rex Hoyle and Gabe Fortin. They really haven't battled it super hard. They've really been kind of following, I think, this whole time. And to be fair, they're actually running very similar times to those guys in front of them, of Jake Watson and Nicholas Rasmussen, and even Stefan Marinak too. You know, they've been running very similar times, and if they're being cool with their tires, then they may be able to get these guys after a while if they're just a little bit easy. These first 4 guys, they were really racy here in these first few laps here.
They were really, really racy here, Coop, and you see Stefan Marinak inching his way closer to Matt Kucker in the entry of the corner, but that run that Matt Kucker gets off the corners is just considerably greater than the 25 machine. And as you mentioned, I have been watching the 13 and the 50. That's going to be Guillaume Fortin and Rex Hoyle, and they have been running consistent times. They haven't really gained, nor have they really lost the front 4. So it's going to be interesting to see how well the tires come into factor, because we know how tough tires are at Stafford, especially with all the grip. You can easily burn up the tires here. Meanwhile, throughout the rest of the field, nothing really going on. Everybody's single file. Looks like some heavy back end damage to the 22 of Mike Holtzclaw, but nothing really too much going on right now, as Matt Kucker seems to be catching some lap traffic, that being the 02 of Trevin Valderrama.
I see rear end damage on the 22, and then I see front end damage on the number 9 of Alex Orians. I'm not a genius out here, but I'd say that maybe the 2 got together earlier on in the race, so I'll definitely have to keep that in the memory bank for later on, because it looks like the 22 has gone backwards and the 9 has gone forward, so you can only assume that maybe one of 2 things happened. So 9 has the position over him. He's actually pretty fast right now. He's actually catching the 96 of Al Smith Jr. Yeah, definitely something to think about if we ever see these 2 together again on the racetrack. There might be something a little bit of a brewing, but really, like you said, you know, they're pretty spread out. Actually, start looking throughout these 5th and 6th place drivers right here. They are starting to pass some lap traffic. Like you said, Wayne McDuff and Trevin Valderrama, they are now laps down. And same thing with Brian Long. These guys are definitely trying to keep their position, but they are now mingled with our lead lap drivers. Brian Long was just the most recent driver, 1 lap down. He would get the free pass if a caution were to come out, and Wayne McDuff and Trevor Valderrama, they'd be stuck a lap down at this point. So really, you know, these guys are this is when it becomes difficult here, Chris. You know, we're already seeing lap traffic on lap 29, and we've got a long race to go, and they've gone green for quite some time, and this league is pretty good at having some long green flag runs. So with this lap traffic being in the mix, it could create some interesting battles going on.
Yeah, the caliber of racing in this league is on par, if not even greater. But if you look at the top 2, even though I just saw Stefan Marinak wiggle it just a little bit out of turn 4 there, Coop, they've kind of distanced themselves from Rasmussen, Watson, and company. Now Rasmussen down to a 1.3 second gap from the 69 of Matt Kucker. So definitely falling off something. Maybe speed just might not be there yet for the 71 and the 88, but meanwhile the 25 and the 69 are just driving away. And you mentioned lap traffic, and we are hitting lap traffic. Stafford is not a very big track, so it does not take long for lap traffic to become a factor here. So we'll have to see once Matt Kucker, Stefan Marinak, and everybody else start to get into the real thick of the lap traffic, who's gonna be able to navigate it the best, and will it help bring Rasmussen, Watson, or even Marinak up to Kucker just a little bit closer. You see Marinak washing up the corner just a little bit in turn 1 and 2, not gonna help his run at all, really. Meanwhile, throughout the rest of the field, nothing going on. About the other pack that I see going on right now, Coop, is going to be the 33, the 12, and the 18. That's Naslin, Rogers, and Hamill, all battling for about the 8th place position.
Yeah, these guys are in a small snake right here, but you know, whenever when you said right here, Fortin and Hoyle, you know, they've been kind of they've been pressing each other this entire time. The 13's always been in front of that number 50, but you know, they haven't really gone side by side. They've just been, you know, constantly and patiently just sitting where they are. I think they're, I don't know if they're content or if they're really going at it. Sometimes it's hard to tell with these drivers. I know the 13's having a little bit of an ill handling on the exit of that turn 2, but it looks like he's doing a better job going to 3 and 4 right here. But you know, you mentioned Stefan Marinak there for a little bit, and with him being right where he is, he would have the championship lead by a good amount. You know, he would be he's first right now, and if the race were to end right now, he'd be a good margin in front of these guys, everyone behind him. That's a great way to start the season. However, he is having, I think, some issues. I think he is absolutely overdriven this 25 machine of his. When you said it was washing up, I started seeing something happen about 15 laps prior when he was absolutely digging into this pavement with that right side of his car going really low, and I think right now he's starting to pay for it. He's just absolutely wheeling it off in turn number 4. He lost 1/10 that last time.
Yeah, and we're really getting through the laps pretty quickly here, Coop. So tires are oh so important at this track, and when we saw the aggressive moves by Marinak in the beginning of the race, and he's still continuing to do it just a little bit here in 3 and 4, going way below that white line, getting right there on the flat part of the track where there's not really any banking. You're really eating up the tires, and I think he knows it, but he's already made his bed, and he's really got to lie in it, Coop, because he's just got to keep going and giving it what he's got, because those tires are going a ways considerably. You see him washing up just a tiny bit in turns 3 and 4, not really getting as low as he normally was, but it's really just allowing Matt Cucker now to pull over a 5/10 lead on Stefan Marinak.
It always appears that Marinak is catching him in the corners, but that's just deceiving to anybody watching, just because Tucker is just absolutely getting him on the exit as he does hit in the wall just a little bit. I think both of them may have just nudged it. Tucker, I saw sparks on the right side of that car, but he still gets a good amount of time on Marinak. But yeah, all these guys right now, they're starting to really start to have some issues. Though we do have a battle. I do believe it is going to be for that 5th position. Looks like the 13 got high in the corner, and the 15 was right, or the 50 was right there. But this pack that you started mentioning about 4 or 5 laps ago, they are catching Fortin and Hoyle right now in that 13 and 50 car, and it's led by Sean Cool, but it's one long snake right here. Anyone makes a mistake, it could be trouble, but for the time being, these guys are waiting, being patient, and the 13 locks up the tires right there in turn number 3. So we're going to have to watch this tire management. This is a long green flag run right now, and tire management is everything.
Tire management is everything, Coop, and you say they're being patient, but I'm seeing anything but from the 33 of Scott Naslin. He was all over the bottom of the racetrack trying to force that 24 of Sean Cool. Now you'll see Rogers try to follow suit. Sean Cool does not want to be stuck on the high side, and you see him really power off the high side there through 3 and 4, so definitely trying to keep in front of Rogers and company. He does not want to be on the receiving end of that freight train just behind him, but meanwhile Naslin gets around the 24 of Sean Cool. Now he's got his sights set on the oh-so-close battle between Rex Hoyle and Gilmay Fortin in that 13 machine. So this whole snake has just turned into an even larger snake now as Matt Cucker. Something's happened to Stefan Marinak here, Coop, because he was about 5/10 off. Now he's almost a second off in that short amount of time.
Well, I'd have to say it's still just because of those tires, you know, and it can only get worse. It can never get better for that 25 machine. And yeah, he is losing quite a lot of time. The only thing I could think of being good for him is that he could get a caution and maybe get those tires. Looks like the 50 right there. Rex Hoyle going back to this battle right here in turns number 3 and 4. Rex Hoyle trying to get that position from Gilmay Fortin. And when you have a long line of drivers like this waiting for something to happen, you can get some drivers to be impatient. Look at that number 12 of Brian Rogers Jr. trying to move the 24 out of the way. And this is all a product of perhaps that driver in the very front being the 13 who locks his tires up again just a little bit. It's a product of him maybe just being a tiny bit slower than the guys behind him, and they all start to climb in. If if you've ever been in a retail store and you have one person helping another, there becomes this long list of people just waiting to be helped. That's what this looks like. Exactly what it looks like. So there's a long line of drivers who want to get around the 13 car, but he is definitely making the 50 work for it.
He really is making that 50 of Rex Hoyle work for it, Coop. And you got to think, how much longer do these guys wait behind that 13 machine with just crossing lap 50? That means we have 76 laps to go here at Stafford Motor Speedway, which seems like a lot of time on paper, but if you look at this 0.5 mile track, it's really not. It's not a lot of time, and that was contact between the 33 and the 50. Maybe just a little bit too much maybe just a little bit too hard into the corner. Somehow made an incredible save. The 50 of Rex Hoyle did, and we end up staying green, Coop.
That was a really good save. Just I think it's just like you said, a little bit of contact went. I'm not really sure how that happened. And I'm watching it again, but yeah, it looks like he just got a little bit too hard in the corner, and then yeah, the 33 had got him. So the 33, like we said, he was really going for it there. And now he may have made one person upset. The only good thing about for him is that driver is at the long line, or at the end of the line of that long line we were just talking about. And these guys got to get going. You know, they're 8 seconds behind Matt Cucker, and if this race goes green the rest of the way, which it's very possible if it could, they're going to be in some trouble. You know, the replay showed right there that the 33 definitely just got into him a little bit in that right rear, but you know, the 33 is still bad fast right now, and nothing's changing with the 13 and everyone behind him. So if you're fast, you have to start going. And when we're at 50, it's absolutely a kind of a pressing matter. If you don't get any cautions, you may have been sitting for a little bit too long, and I think that's what these drivers are thinking.
Yeah, that's got to be creeping into the back of every driver's mind at this moment, because the laps keep winding down as now the 33 of Scott Naslund works on Guillaume Fortin, and that 13 machine going to be on the inside of the 13, going to try to make quick work of him as he slides up the track just a bit, almost contact between the 13 and the 33. Now Sean Cool going to try to follow suit, get right there on the inside, as it looks like the 13 may have caught the wall just a bit there. That's going to slow him up. Now he's going to be on the receiving end of that freight train of that really long line that we've been talking about all night.
Yeah, the two drivers that were heading that are now being passed, or has been passed, and that 33 of Naslund, look how much space he's getting between these guys now. Look how much faster he is between himself and those guys behind him. I mean, they're really close. Little bit of door ringing between the 12 and 13. Just a little tiny edge right there. But, you know, look how much space he's got between them now. You know, he's so much faster than them, and he was being very patient with this as well. We might go 3 wide here into turn number 4 if they're not careful. And they make it through. That was close. That was really close out of turn number 4, but wow, really good job by all the drivers, including the lap car. It's not easy to be that lap car, and that was Wayne McDuff getting out of the way of these guys doing battle here, but that was really close. But, you know, these drivers in this pack, you know, they've been here for so long. They've been here for 58 straight laps, and they're still going at it. They've been looking at the back bumper of some guys for, you know, the whole entire race. They want to make sure they want to see fresh air every once in a while, and you know, the 18 of, looks like that's Hamill's trying to get a little bit of that.
Yeah, trying to get, and we proposed the golden question of how long everyone would wait, and I think we just got our answer there, Coop, because everybody just started to make a whole bunch of moves, going all over the place, almost making it 3 wide, somehow making it through. All of that, everybody knows that it's go time, and they can't waste too much time. Now 10 seconds back from Matt Cucker. Let's talk about that 69 machine for just a second. What a tear he has been on this week, coming off of a championship win last night, now dominating by 2.8 seconds in the second round of the Upstate Racing League. This guy definitely knows how to get around a short track.
You're right, you are, and I saw him do some unique lines whenever he was at this you know, a couple laps ago. He's 0.3 faster than Stefan Marinette that last time by, and you know, that's bad fast, really, to be that much faster than the guy who's sitting in second. You know, he's running a 21.2 and Marinette's running a 21.5. That's a really big difference between those two guys. And Marinak's been running, I think, the same line the entire time. Running the apron on the inside, going up to that first line that's not the apron, then coming back down, kind of doing a nice like an arch throughout the corner. And then I start looking at Matt Cucker's line. He is doing different things just about every single lap. He's going in and almost only using that apron. This time he does just kind of like the middle, straddled that white line. And to be quite frank, he's trying to find the fastest way possible, still using that apron, and he keeps his left sides on the apron basically the whole time. So, lots of different ways to run this track. It's a really fun way to race this track. Stefan Marinak got really loose off of turn number 4. And right now, Nicholas Rasmussen is actually catching him despite still losing Matt Cucker. But that battle between those two might happen pretty soon as we're getting close to halfway.
Yeah, halfway just coming up. And if we want to do a comparison, we started this race with about 23 cars. Now, all 23 cars, Coop, are on the racetrack, but we only have 18 of those cars on the lead lap. So that just shows how fast these leaders are moving around here. Speaking of, the leaders, everybody in the top 5 pretty much really spaced out, about over a second after you get past the 3-second gap between Stefan Marinak and Matt Cucker. So a huge gap. And then you go back to the pack that we've been talking about all night, Coop, between Sean Cool, AJ Hamill, and Rex Hoyle, who has been able to hold on after getting completely slammed by Naslin just a few short laps ago. He was able to hold on and amazingly stay in the top 10.
As we're starting to talk about drivers throughout your field, I think it's going to be a good point to talk about tonight's halfway point in the Midway Race Break, brought to you by iRacing, the leading online racing simulation. iRacing was developed from the beginning as a centralized racing and competition service. iRacing organizes, hosts, and officiates races on virtual tracks all around the world. In the fast-paced world of esports, iRacing is a one-stop shop for online racing with officially sanctioned racing from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, World of Outlaws, and many, many more. So we'll look through the grid through the field as we round that halfway point a little bit earlier than I said we were halfway, but here we are at lap 70 of 125. Matt Cucker currently leads Stefan Marinak and the rest of the field at a 4.1 second lead. Marinak, of course, second. And you've got Nicholas Rasmussen, who's 5.4 seconds behind in third. Jake Watson's fourth. Scott Naslund is in a very comfortable 6th place position. Then you've got Brian Rogers Jr., Sean Cool in 6th. AJ Hamill, he's going to be in the 8th position, and then 9th and 10th is Rex Hoyle and Al Smith Jr. Remember, those guys are fighting for position right now.
Speaking of a few other drivers that are fighting for position, the 99 and the 13 swap positions. That means the 99 of Eric Hagg will be in that 11th place position. Gilmay Fortin in that 13 will be 12th. 13th goes to Alex Orients. 14th to 22 of Mike Holtzclaw. James McIntyre Jr. is going to be 15th and actually going to round out your lead lap field here. Coop going down into the drivers that are one lap down. The 16 of Brad Carpenter. Justin McDuff 17th. Curtis Martin's going to be 18th. 19th goes to Dan Dubuque. 20th, Brian Long. 21st, Jay Dubuque. Trevin Valderrama will be 22nd, starting 2 laps down, and rounding out your 23 car field. That's Wayne McDuff.
So that's been a look at your field and your iRacing Midway Race Break. For more information on the wide variety of sim racing possibilities online, visit iRacing.com to sign up today. For a limited time, you can now visit iRacing.com/World of Outlaws and take advantage of some exclusive promo codes that will continue to be going on, I think, throughout the year. You can get iRacing with a 1-year membership for half off, or simply try it for 3 months for less than $5. Again, that's iRacing/World of Outlaws. And as these guys continue to go throughout this track, I mean, 75 laps of green flag racing is going to produce some really worn out right side tires. And while you're still thinking about how to navigate around this track, you might want to give your friends at Joe Real Timing a shout out as well. So Definitely want to give those guys a big shout out, as they are the official timing software of LSRTV. And for these guys in the cockpit, for us in the booth, and for just an average iRacer, you can use the Joe Real timing service to much benefit, even if it is the regular, or you can get the pro version as well. So up front, Matt Cucker still doing what he does best, having a very good long run car and that 69 machine. And tell you what, he is. We're almost 30 minutes in here, Chris, and we're almost down to 25 laps to go, and about 20 laps here's time. And these guys are doing 21 second lap times, I should say, and gosh, they're at a blistering pace right now.
They are, but one driver that is really, really struggling here, Coop, and I've been watching it over the entire midway race break, actually, is that 25 of Stefan Marinak. He's basically going around this track like it's a dirt track now, basically drifting the corners. You can start to see the tire marks from just where he's been sliding the tires just a lot, almost getting completely sideways off the corner. He's completely blown all of the tires off of this machine, and you see him getting in there. He's sliding the car all over the place. Just not the race Stefan Marinak was hoping to have, but somehow still managing to hold a second lead over Nicholas Rasmussen and keeping in that top three.
Yeah, he just started his tire tracks in turn number 3, and by the middle of the corner, that's when they stopped. I mean, this guy was absolutely on a tear at the very beginning of this race, going from third almost to the lead at one point. But right now, these drivers are really hurting for tires. Even Matt Cucker, you know, he's hurting for tires too. Don't make him believe that he's extremely comfortable up there, but absolutely just sideways. So much is at 25, and a lot of other guys, but we've got ourselves a caution, which is going to change everything. Throw Matt Cucker's 6.8 lead out the window, as these guys, big junk on the front straightaway between the 03 and the 31. That's going to be Curtis Martin and Brad Carpenter.
Yeah, just getting out of the corner here, trying to see what really happened coming through here, and it looks like they just really come out of the corner. I don't think the 31 of Brad Carpenter expected the 03 to stick the nose in there. I think the 31 thinks that he was clear, or maybe the 03 came down, but it looks like they just came together actually here, Coop, on the front straightaway. Either way, hard in the outside wall for the 31, and the 03 basically spinning it into the grass.
That is something you see pretty typical of short track racing, and we're seeing some pit stops here. You know, I'm going to expect every single one of these drivers to come down and get 4 fresh ones. You know, these pit boxes are very small, so there's not much margin for error for these drivers to come down and slide through. And these very, very slow pit stops, they've got to make sure they're right on top of them, because the pace car can come back and lap these guys. You know, the 13 car is coming in late, and he might be in jeopardy of that. You know, the pace car is in 3 and 4 right now, and if I'm a crew chief, I'm thinking to myself, you know, we've got to go. And a lot of these drivers getting out of their pit boxes, and it does look like Matt Cucker, he will continue to lead, of course, and Rasmussen actually beats Stefan Marinak out of the pits. So that's going to be something to think about, as Nicholas Rasmussen does get that spot, and Marinak will start on the bottom though, so we'll have to see that will happen, how that works out. That's top 4. They've been there all day, and so we'll just have to see how these guys play out on lap 85 right now for our first restart of the night, well over halfway.
Yeah, and what an amazing battle off of pit road that was here. Just taking a second look at it, Coop, there's not a lot of room on that access road coming out of pit road, and Rasmussen was able to get just a faster pit stop than Stefan Marinak and basically squeeze it on out there just in time before they hit that access road. Going to be coming in the second place out of pit road. So it's interesting, and you know, one driver that's got to be breathing a sigh of relief after basically drifting around this track in the closing laps it has got to be Stefan Marinak, because he, like I mentioned, he was drifting. Now he's got 4 fresh tires on there, and he'll be raring to go, maybe have something from Matt Cucker before this one is all said and done.
Yeah, I have a funny feeling that these drivers have completely forgotten what new tires feel like. So definitely expect some drivers to be a little bit reserved here on this restart, and expect some drivers to expect their tires to do more than they're actually going to be able to do. It looks like we may get side by side, but look out front here. It's not Matt Cucker who's going to start these guys. It's actually going to be Al Smith Jr. So I'm not sure what's going to happen here on this restart. I can tell you this much. Al Smith Jr. was not even close to the front before this, so it's definitely a strategy call. Looks like we're going to get the pace car to stay out for one more lap. I think they're having a little bit of issues behind. I think he was in 10th when the caution was flown. So he's going to go from 10th to 1st, and I'm very positive that he did not pit.
I would have to agree that he stayed out as well here, Coop. With 80 lap old tires, not really sure what the strategy call will be here, but I guess we'll have to see. Maybe he's hoping he can hold off the fast machine of Matt Cucker. I don't see any way that this could actually work out, but we'll have to see what's going on in that brain of Al Smith Jr.
The farthest back he can go is 12th, so it'll only be a negative of 2 spots. But we'll have to see. He gets a good start here. No spinning of the tires for that 69 machine of Al Smith Jr. And so he'll go into turn 1 and have some very hungry drivers behind him. And look at him. He washes up the track almost immediately, and the 69 is already to his outside. The 71's on his bottom. They're going to go 3 wide momentarily. And the 71, he's not going to be able to get there. And the 69, he's going to really be rough here, and the 25 of Stefan Marinak gets into him a little bit. He's actually a hazard out there right now as Cucker continues to pull away, and they are still side by side underneath side 3 wide there for a moment, and still
the 96 of Al Smith Jr. not probably working out how he wanted to, because he's dropping like an anchor right now, Coop. He's dropping all the way back to probably 12th, like you mentioned, is where he will be, and that is the true that's the truth. He will drop all the way back. It looks like 11th now is where he'll round out, so definitely not what Al Smith Jr. was hoping for. Meanwhile, back up the front, at the front, fresh tires, no difference to Matt Cucker. Matt Cucker still on a tear through the field, pulling about 4/10 on Nicholas Rasmussen. Stefan Marinak right now all over the back bumper of the 88 of Jake Watson, trying to make a move, and he does, to the inside in turns 3 and 4, making quick work of the 25, or making quick work of the 88, I should say. Now move back up to 3rd.
And I gotta say that getting around Al Smith Jr. for that period of time was actually they did a very good job. It looks like the smoke you're seeing on the track is from the 31 from earlier on. Brad Carpenter, his engine finally expired on the track, but will continue to be green. So if you see a little bit of smoke out there, that is why. No contact ensued for that. Just the engine just decided it was going to expire after the heavy damage earlier. But these guys did a really good job, Chris, of just getting around Al Smith and being able to just really judge their competition, still be racy, but not have an accident. And I think that was really impressive by all these guys. And because of that, I think they may keep this race down to 1 caution as they continue to try and get to Matt Cucker. These guys have good short run speed, and I think they're only going to have about 30 laps here at the start-finish line to see if they have enough speed to get to it. And oh, by the way, look behind, who also has good short run speed. Stefan Marinak just got around Jake Watson, like you said, and he's looking to get the number 71 of Nicholas Rasmussen.
Yeah, slowly closing in on that 71 of Rasmussen. Just not really having the speed that 71 car this race, Coop. Not really used to seeing Nicholas Rasmussen struggle on these short tracks, but he just hasn't had the short or long run speed to keep up with Matt Cucker and even Stefan Marinak, really, as Marinak's slowly closing in the gap. Maybe fresh tires is what that 71 needs, but nobody able to catch that 69 of Matt Cucker as we're getting ready to cross lap 97 and go into lap 98. Laps are really winding down. If anybody is holding back anything, now is the time where you gotta push.
I tell you what, I don't think Marinak is in any shape, form, or fashion holding back anything. I don't think he has this whole race, which is why his tires were pretty abused earlier on, or not too long ago. But he's still absolutely powering that car down. And you know, if the bottom was wow, look at the 25 right there. He was. We've had a lot of good camera work on him today, and a lot of good shots of him getting sideways. And I don't know if he's going to take that as a compliment or not, but you know, it's happened quite a bit here. But he's been absolutely fast, and so did the 88. And I think we've neglected to talk about Jake Watson just because he's been sitting in fourth this whole time. But he has some really good runs on the outside as well. He's been pretty fast there, and you know, he had. I don't think he had a good week last week. I'm pretty sure that. Yeah, he was, I think he's 22nd coming into this race in points. So, 4th place right now is a really good spot for him to start making some ground up from last week. And then all 3 of the guys in front of him as well. You know, Marinak wants to continue to have that championship lead, which I'm pretty sure he'll have if he finishes where he's at. And then Rasmussen is in the same boat as Watson right now, so 25 laps to go, coming to 23, I think, or can't do math. Yeah, 23 here. And you know,
math is hard.
These guys are getting these guys are getting really close for the 2nd place position, and as well behind them.
Looks like we tripped you up in math and then the English. Just a long race, a lot of green flag racing, and a lot of stuff to keep track of in this one, Coop, so I can't really blame you for having one little flub up, and trust me, we'll have many flubs throughout the season. That is always a given. So closing in on the final few laps, as now Marinak getting really close to the back bumper of Nicholas Rasmussen in that 71 machine, maybe trying to use a little bit of that front bumper to kind of politely, so to speak, move Nicholas Rasmussen out of the way. I don't think polite is kind of the correct term to use, but he's trying to move Nicholas Rasmussen out of the way because that 25 knows that if he doesn't move him out of the way now, it might be all she wrote for Matt Cucker, and I think it is pretty much all she wrote for that 69 machine, because I think it would be pretty much impossible to make up about a second in these closing laps.
Cucker is still getting in front of these guys and pulling away, despite just, I think, casually strolling along. But Marinak's not strolling along, but neither is the 71. The 71 may look like he's got himself a really good handle, but with that mirror so full of that 25, I've got to say that Nicholas Rasmussen just has to be on his game for these last 20 laps or so, just because the 25 is getting very gutsy just about any time he can get. You saw him go to the bottom right there to try and get that position. That's second place, and you know, it doesn't really hurt either one of them or helps him a big amount. But as you're seeing the lap car, looks like that's Curtis Martin right there. You know, these guys, every position can start to matter. You know, these guys are typically pretty good. He gets into him just a little bit out of turn number 4. And that 25 is absolutely everywhere. And there's a little bit of contact actually between the guys behind him. Looks like the lap car and Jake Watson. It's Curtis Martin. So those guys got together just a little bit right there off of turn number 4. And that's going to slow down the momentum of Jake Watson. And really, that was close between those two guys, but the battle for second is kind of a come and go deal right now. He gets to the inside, he has to back off and let his tires cool down, and I think Rasmussen could go harder, but I don't think he is. I think right now he's kind of, I think he's being pretty patient and waiting to see how hard he pushes the issue here. Chris is getting down to the wire.
Yeah, just crossing for 16 laps to go here, Coop. Not a lot of time to really make any moves. If you're gonna make a move, you got to really size it up now, because we talked about all night how tough and difficult just passing is at Stafford, and Stefan Marinak knows that. That's why he's trying to push the issue so hard, get really close to that back bumper of the 71 of Nicholas Rasmussen, trying everything he can to get up there. If we look out throughout the rest of the field, not really too much going on. You got Brian Rogers and Sean Cool kind of grouped up together, but they've been kind of grouped up in the same area this entire race, battling the entire race. Eric Hagg just kind of going between them, and then you got Rex Hoyle and way back there, Mike Holtzclaw. So nothing else really going on the track. We just got to focus on this second place battle. And look how low Stefan Marinak really gets going down to the corner. You know, almost right up next to that grass here, Coop. He's using all of the track, trying to use it to his advantage, but nothing seems to be really working out for him.
Yeah, seeing him make multiple moves just about every lap and getting close to 10 laps to go. And I'd like to give a good shout out to Scott Naslund right here. There's a lot of drivers who have come up a few positions, but Naslund in particular, I know he had the incident that maybe will be an after-race conversation between certain drivers, but you know, he's still come up a ways, and to get through that traffic with, you know, he's got a lot of ground to make up if he's going to get any more positions right now, but he's done a good job of getting himself from 9th to 5th, so you know, kudos to that driver. And AJ Hamill as well. Those two drivers have come up 4 positions, and so Hamill's going to try and get maybe that last spot from Naslund and get the hard charger at the end of the night. But right now, these guys, like you said, are pretty spaced out. Really, the only battle I see is for that second spot, and at least those close guys that are close on track. But you know, the 24 of Sean Cool, like you said a little bit ago as well, he's coming into the picture as well. Astounding jobs by all these guys to continue. The 24 almost lost it right there, actually off of turn number 4. Glad we checked in for that, but holy cow, 24 saved that one.
Yeah, an amazing save by the 24 of Sean Cool. Just trying to ride out the laps here as these tires are really starting to get a little bit of wear on them now. Coop, you're going to start seeing the loose come back into these cars, and you're going to start to see them kick out a little bit. Luckily, Stefan Marinak has been able to keep the tires under the car a lot better than the first run. It was basically a learning process. Unfortunately for him, that learning process took about 85 laps to go through, so he didn't really have anything or any time to really improve and catch Matt Cucker. Meanwhile, Matt Cucker 1.2 seconds away, and I think he's ready for this one to be over to do some celebrating.
Not over yet, but once we get to 5 laps, I think that's when you can start saying, you know, it's pretty solid in the books. And so he's got a couple more laps until that point. But you know, we start to look at the points picture, of course, and start looking about if the race, you know, if the race ends the way it is now, you know, these guys are towards the top 5. They're going to be a really good position, especially coming off of what happened last week. A lot of these guys are going to really rebound, and a lot of these guys are only going to make their playoff picture look even better. You know, Matt Cucker, he finished in the, I think he finished 10th and led 14 laps. Right now, I'm pretty sure he's led all but just a few, maybe a couple laps. So he'll be the all-time lap leader tonight by a large margin, as we'll have 5 laps to go here at the Stafford Motor Speedway. Matt Cucker continues to lead the field at a very blistering pace. He's absolutely dominated tonight's race and is going to continue. He's going to have to navigate around a few lap cars, and the guys behind him are still doing battle as well. But like you said, it might be a done deal after this lap.
Yeah, Matt Cucker has pretty much dominated this entire race, leading just about every lap except maybe the first one, I should say. Maybe Nicholas Rasmussen getting that one, but Matt Cucker pretty much dominating this entire race ever since he got out in front and in control. Definitely deserves the win as we start to wind the laps down. Meanwhile, Stefan Marinak falling off Nicholas Rasmussen and slowly falling in, now quickly falling into the clutches of Jake Watson.
Yeah, he's been really pressing those tires hard in the last couple laps. Jake Watson might be able to do something. Looks like we'll have popsicle sticks in the air here at the grandstand, or at the flag stand for Matt Cucker, and he's going to keep sailing away. We'll keep a look at these guys going for position until the white flag lap, and then we'll take a look back at it. But still going back and back is Marinak. I think he'll have enough time to stay on top of it, but he does have a pretty ill-handling race car. He might hold on to the podium position. But as we put our eyes from second or from third and fourth, we put it back to the top spot. Matt Cucker, after 125 laps, got the lead early and continued to lead and had just a very good tire management plan on for that 69 machine. And as he comes out of turn number 4, he will get the win here at Stafford Motor Speedway for tonight's Arts Barbershop 125, and in very good fashion. And we did 125 laps in 45 seconds. That's half a minute per lap, and an incredible pace by these guys, only slowed by 1 caution. They did a very, very good job. Top 3, Cucker, Rasmussen, and Marinak.
And a lot happened within that. Marinak struggling with tire wear, Rasmussen falling all the way back to 4th at one point, but the one thing that stayed consistent was that driver you see pulling it in and parking it in victory lane. Matt Cucker really knows his way around the short tracks, and I'm going to start saying he's probably one of the masters of the short track racing here, Coop, and he really just proved it by dominating this race here tonight. What a well-deserved win for that 69 machine.
So as he gets the victory for the Arts Barbershop 125, we will talk about him, Rasmussen, and Marinak after the race after the commercial break. But before we do that, we'll go through your full field rundown of how your favorite drivers finished. So Matt Cucker gets the win. Nicholas Rasmussen and Stefan Marinak battled hard for 2nd and 3rd. Jake Watson finished out the night 4th, and then Scott Naslin got a positive 4 positions to finish 5th. AJ Hamill also up 4 positions, finished 6th. Brian Rogers Jr. finished 7th. Sean Cool finished 8th, and that's where he started. Then you've got Eric Hagg, he finished in the 9th position, and then Rex Hoyle finished in the 10th.
Another driver finishing where he started, I should say, is Mike Holtzclaw, and that's 22, coming home in 11th. 12th goes to Al Smith Jr. After that late race pit strategy call, finishes 12th, 1 lap down. Guillaume Fortin goes from 5th to 13th. Alex Orions finishes 14th. 15th goes to Danny Butte. James McIntyre is going to be 16th. 17th, Brian Long. Justin McDuff, 18th. 19th goes to Curtis Martin. And rounding out your top 20 is the 02 of Trevin Valderrama. Rounding out the rest of your field, 21st goes to Jay Dubuque. Wayne McDuff's 22nd. And rounding out your 23 car field is Brad Carpenter.
So that wraps up tonight's 125 race. And then we're going to talk to those top 3 drivers for our post-race festivities. Matt Cucker celebrating, and we'll talk to him and those 3 after the break. And you've been watching LSRTV's coverage of the Upstate Racing League White Knuckle Clothing Incorporated Pro Late Model Series, and we'll see you in a bit with those 3 drivers. Welcome back to Stafford as we have completed tonight's 125, presented by Barber for the Upstate Racing League Pro Late Models Series. We're going to get a word and a little bit more from Matt Cucker, who has finished tonight in victory lane. Matt, I think we might have just interrupted a small conversation between you, Rasmussen, and Stefan Marinak, but you're in victory lane. How does it feel?
Feels pretty good. I mean, we started off the night with the Q run that we didn't really get the results we wanted, but started P4, and it feels good to be able to get up there and get the lead.
I bet so. And when we started the season, we expected you to do really well in this series, considering last night you just got yourself a championship in a very similar car, and so backing up that with a win, it definitely is impressive from that side of things, and bringing a lot of talent into this league. Beating Nicholas Rasmussen by 1.7 seconds, but I don't think that really doesn't say everything that you did during that long green flag run. And talk to us about the tire management that was a part of this race, because you absolutely whipped these guys on how long you were able to hold on to those tires.
Yeah, I knew early on from practice earlier that the car was going to get super tight, and if you didn't take good care of them, you were gonna fall back a lot. So at the beginning there, I was just riding, and then finally once I got to the lead, I was just riding, let them catch up to me, and then I'd try to pull away a little bit more, and then I'd back it off a little bit, let them catch me again, and then try to go harder again. And I was able to do that for quite a while, and then all of a sudden it was just like the car, it just had so much bite, and they lost all theirs, and I was able to pull, I think, 5.6 seconds before that yellow, and I mean, I can't believe those tires lasted that long.
Yeah, right, you are. Now, I will say on that restart, were you ever worried that these guys they had some fantastic short run speed? Were you ever worried that they might actually have some of that short run speed to get to you there on that last one?
I was actually very worried because I knew I couldn't drive the car on the short run. I just would push way up the track. I don't know how they were doing it, but I was glad I could get around Al there on that restart and put a little bit of gap in between us, which is, I think, what kept us the win.
I think Chris might have a question to ask you, so I'll let him jump in here real quick.
So I was fortunate enough to watch you drive last night, get the car's late model championship, Matt, and now you come into here after that huge wave of momentum and completely dominate the round 2 race in Upstate. What is it about these short tracks? What draws you to them, and what makes you so good?
I think it's the tire management is what really draws me, because when in iRacing, when you do the official stuff for iRating and safety rating, you can pit all the time for tires if you have yellow flags, and with the leagues, I know Cars Esport, you can't pit at all. With this, they have a set amount that you can take, and it just draws me in that you have to conserve your tires, although this is a fixed league, so it's not like I have an advantage over everyone else. We're all on the same playing field, and you have to drive the car differently in order to come out on top. And to be able to do that on these short tracks, it's a lot of fun, and it's where I grew up. I grew up watching my dad race at a real short track, so it's a blast to come to these short tracks. I know Iowa, I didn't have the best run, but I mean, it is what it is, and we come back to the short tracks, and here I am sitting on top, and I hope I can keep doing it throughout the season.
Well, as we were about to let you go, as always, I think you know the drill. Who makes it happen for you on the number 69 machine?
First off, I got to thank Art's Barbershop for coming on board for this race, Stafford for 125 laps. Got to thank Globalcom, iAnalyze. Got to thank you guys for broadcasting, and Upstate Racing League for putting us on. It's been a blast so far, and hopefully we can keep doing it throughout the rest of the season.
All right, there you have it. Matt Cucker finishes the night first in his rookie season with the Upstate Racing League, but I'm sure it doesn't feel like it, at least at this point, with his first win in his career over here with these guys. And as we move on to the next one, Chris, you're going to be there with Nicholas Rasmussen as he finished in the second position.
Yeah, sitting down here with Nicholas Rasmussen here. Nicholas, you had a pretty consistent race all night. What did the car feel like out at Stafford tonight?
Well, pretty decent at the end, to be honest. This place here, I mean, I've never been able to figure it out, to be honest. I think this is my third pole here, if I'm not mistaken. So short run pace has always been good here, but for the long run, I've never really been able to figure this place out. So to be honest, I would have been happy with the top 10 today here, because I've usually really been struggling around here. So the first part of the race, I tried to experiment a little bit with the lines, because again, I couldn't find a proper line. I was overdriving the car. It was not really good, so I decided to let the two guys behind me go and just try to figure out how to fix the issue. And fortunately, at the end of the race, I had a good battle with Marinac, and the car was handling pretty well, all things considered. And yeah, I think the best we could have hoped for today is a P2, to be honest, and I'm happy about that.
And we saw drivers, struggle with tire wear all day, and we heard Matt touch on just how difficult it is in these fixed races to conserve tire wear. How hard was it, especially at this track, to conserve the tires and get the car driving just the way you wanted it to?
Very, very difficult. I think it was really on my mind all the time that if I decide to absolutely wheel this thing now, I'm never gonna have anything left at the end. It's a mistake I've done here so often, and to just being able to fend off Marinac at the end, to just have that speed in the car, I think it's the first time ever while racing here that I've been able to actually conserve enough tires to have some speed near the end of tire stints or tire runs. So it's taken me a long time to figure out. It is really difficult out here.
And obviously, we do have an off week in this White Knuckle Clothing Pro Late Model Series. But then we come back on November 2nd for the Joker's eSport 150 at South Boston. Are you excited for Sobo?
Absolutely, man. It's a fantastic little track. It can provide so good side-by-side racing. Obviously, if there's a wreck happening in front of you, you're in trouble. But I always look forward to that track. It's a blast to race there, and gonna enjoy the off week and collect my thoughts a little bit, see what I can learn from this race here to carry forward to Sobo and the remainder of the season.
All right, Nicholas, as always, it's a pleasure to talk to you. Before we let you go, sponsors, shout-outs, who makes it happen for you?
Well, first of all, thanks to Al Smith Jr. for organizing the whole league here. It's always been such a pleasure to race here, and I hope to continue with it for a long time. Gotta thank the team Gap SRT. Great team. I've been part of this here for a little more than a year, and enjoying every minute of it. And obviously gotta give a huge shout out to those who make these races happen. White Knuckle Clothing for sponsoring the whole league and the whole Pro Late Model Series. And gotta give a huge shout out again to Art's Barbershop for stepping up to the plate and sponsoring the race. Finally, I think I will give a shout out to Child's Play Charity. It's a charity that you can obviously see on the Gap SRT show at Monte Carlo, and go check them out at childsplaycharity.org and see what they're all up for.
Right. As always, like I mentioned, such a good time when we get to talk to you, Nicholas. Thanks for taking the time to sit up here and talk with us for a minute.
Thank you, guys. Hope to see you next time.
There we have it, and I guess I'll step over here and get a word with Stefan Marinac, who finished third. Stefan, really quick but tough race here tonight. How did it feel out there?
For me, it was really tough. I put my steering ratio down to 10, and I probably shouldn't have done that because I was, in practice, I was really tight. And, I was trying to do whatever I could to kind of combat that. And so I put the steering ratio down a little bit, and that screwed me. I was pretty good on the short run, but on the long run, I was not good at all. So, and Matt just outran all of us. So I'm happy with third after that, and it's a pretty good result.
and we really got to pick the brains of the top two on this issue, but tire wear seemed to be such a huge thing here tonight at Stafford. And with you changing your steering ratio down to 10, we saw you pretty much drifting out there a few times. Was it just really, really hard to keep the tires under the car?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it was bad. Nick was catching me on that long run, and I was just before that caution came out, I was just planning on letting him by because I didn't want to wreck him. I probably drove the car a little bit harder than I should have with the steering ratio, so it was tough. I mean, I was doing everything I could to hang on to it.
All right. Well, we got an off week, so we won't be back here for another 2 weeks, and that's going to be for the Joker's Esport 150. So, gotta ask, with the small little track that we're going to, are you excited for Sobo?
Yeah, if that's November 2nd, I have an exam that night, so I don't know if I'm going to make it, but South Boston, if I do make it, is probably my worst track, so I'm not looking forward to it.
There's always got to be that one, Stefan, but before we let you go, sponsors, shout-outs, who makes it happen for you?
Yeah, the race sponsor, Arts Barber Shop, thank them for coming on board, and White Knuckle Clothing for being the series sponsor, and you guys for doing the broadcast.
All right, and there you have it. Stefan, thank you for taking the time in this very, very quick race to sit down and talk to us for a while. Hopefully we'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you.
There you have it, Coop. Rounding out the race here tonight. Very, very quick, like you mentioned, 45 minutes to do 125 laps here at Stafford. So we weren't here for a lot, but there was a lot of action going on. And how about Matt Cucker just completely destroying the field here tonight?
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of guys who had the capability of being as equal or not as equal as he was, because he was quite a bit on a tear. But there's some drivers in the middle of the pack who just, I don't think didn't have the ability to get up there just because they had poor qualifying runs there earlier on. And when it comes down to a long run like that, and you start far back, the cautions to help you out. It's a big deal. I think a lot of drivers kind of underestimate the power of qualifying good. I think Jake Watson was a driver who did really well with what he had. Started second and dropped back to fourth and basically sat there the whole time. Was able to stay with those guys up front, and then the guys behind him, he never let them get close. I think he was a driver that had moderate and good speed in order to, with what he was dealt with. If he started in the 11th position, he may not have made it up to the top 5, and I think drivers like Scott Naslund may have been able to work with Stefan Marinak and Rasmussen up there if he was already up there, but started 9th. And, when it came to something like that, it just wasn't meant to be for that driver when he starts 3rd or when he starts 9th.
Yeah, it's really not. It really is, especially on these fixed races like Cucker mentioned. It's all about that track, that track position, and tire wear. So if you get the bad end of one deal, it's going to be really hard to make that up. But all in all, great racing here tonight.
So for all of you still sticking around and watching LSRTV now and for the future, we've got a mini series. We got 5 on the week. Right now Thursday, and then tomorrow is Friday, which is the Super Speedway Cup Series, as it's always been, and then Saturday will be the United Sim Racing BNC Lawn and Landscaping Lawn Landscaping Truck Series. I almost forgot which sponsor they were. And then on Mondays we have the Full Throttle Cup Series, which is closing down to the wire. They'll be racing at Kansas, and then we'll have, I believe, the Myrtle Beach Speedway Series on next Wednesday. So from all of us here in the booth, I'm Austin Coop, Chris Murdoch next to me. Thanks for being a part of this. And then, of course, as always, Cisco Scarmuzza in the booth, and Evan, Laura, DJ, and everybody else who makes LSR TV happen. But thank you for stopping by, and we will see you at the next track.